Jim, and really appreciate him taking some time here. I wanted to just visit about a few of the things that have set us on our path and how long we've been on this path. And it's kind of crazy to think that, you know, in the ranching and farming community, it's almost like it's a self-inflicted journey that you just almost feel a calling to do what we do. And I know for me, one of the things that I struggle with is, for years, I've never been able to be profitable in the beef industry. And why do I do it? And my family says, good grief, Dad, why do you do this? It's like, I answer because we can. And I'm really just raising my family in the lifestyle that I want through my animals. But we've got to do it a different way. We've got to figure out how to actually make it be more profitable. And I think sometimes our mindset is just, it's set because the way the supermarket sets it. In other words, we think somehow that our beef is only worth $4 a pound. And yet we go through all kinds of farming practices that are way different than the big four, say, the way they harvest cattle and whatever. And I just wanted to see, is that any of that stick to you? Like, has that been some of your...
It rings a bell. This kind of feels like Ranchaholics Anonymous.
Right.
Anonymous. But I knew we wanted to have a drink to get together today, so I figured I ought to bring the goods. So
okay.
I'll give you a glass of the best. Now, fresh squeeze yesterday morning.
Good.
Now I can get in my element a little bit.
How long have you been milking cows?
Oh, well, I started on getting the milk for the cat after my brothers were done milking. Worked my way up to the calf, and then to the full responsibility of the buck at about 6 years old. So, I mean, you about the same.
Yeah.
The best story I ever heard, and the hardest I ever seen your dad laugh,
yeah,
is when he tells about your mom getting kicked by the cow and landing in a fresh green cow pie. And
oh yeah.
He laughed so hard he cried.
Yeah.
And she had a green stain on her hide that endured quite a while.
Right. That's good living.
Like you said, we've kind of followed the same path. I figure that what I do should be based on principles that I believe in. Decisions I make, lifestyle choices should be made based on how I want to be and who I want to be, not the dollar dictating my finances or my lifestyle, how I live. So I know I got to feed my family. I want a glass of milk, I better have a cow, milk some good A2A2 milk, and it's there for my kids, it's there for my neighbors and anybody else that wants to support me in that. And same with the beef, same with the pork, same with the good free-range eggs. So Joe Salatin kind of woke me up to this a little bit more than I was already aware of about 20 years ago. And I started stepping back and taking a look at what I was doing. I've been a HVAC plumbing contractor for 40 years now. Started in working with my brother at a young age, and that supported the first thing I bought after I got married was a foundation cow, registered Simmental foundation cow. And in our family, we don't use engineers. We get our plot of ground, and the first thing you do is get a cow, because you got to have compost, right? And you got to have beef, and you got to have milk. But you design your property around, you unload the cow, and the first time that cow goes to the bathroom, that's the manure pile. And so you start putting all the compost where that cow went in the bathroom, and then where your house goes is far enough away from that you don't have to smell it.
Well, yeah, except for the fact that so many people in America, you know, they're just building cities, you know. Seems like they want everybody to be in a condo anymore. So they're giving up a lot of that lifestyle, that responsibility that so many people look at it and say, you're in prison to it. And, guys like us, we look at it and the land really sets us free. It's a lifestyle choice of choosing into that. And it's interesting. I had my oldest son, he wasn't able to go do all the things that his buddies did in high school. And he wanted to join the Marines, prior to being 18. And I says, no, you wait. You make your own decision, but it's when you're 18. And the day of his 18th birthday, he went and signed up for the Marines. So before he left, I remember what I said to him. I said, you don't even know all the seeds that have been put into you for 18 years. Yeah. I says, but they're in there.
He's just compost. He hasn't been growing anything yet.
Yep. And what a great day it was, the day that, a few months in, he called me up and said, Dad, can I talk to you? And I said, yeah, sure. He says, I just want you to know that I want to do it just like you did it. Like, that's a great day. I mean, that was, makes you proud to think you didn't ruin their life by, the hard work. And
it kind of re-energizes you and helps you know you're on the right path, because we always question, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Yep. Do I need to keep doing this?
Yeah. Almost everybody can answer the last part of this sentence, where much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
But I say there's another way to think about it too, and that is, where much is expected, much is given. What that means to me is that when we expect more out of ourselves, God pours the capacity right into us, and we're able to do things on a great big scale.
Well, you have to, I don't care how religious someone is or isn't, they've got to use faith.
Yep.
They gotta visualize it. They've got to have a standard that they're trying to uphold or to maintain, even in themselves, even if it's a financial standard.
Sure.
You need drive. You need good principles. You need something that keeps you going, gets you up in the morning.
Well, and life's a storm. And I mean, sometimes I think it's by design that we've got to actually walk right up to the wall when we absolutely do not know what to do next. And there's something to be said about somebody that will just continue to try and just facing that dragon.
Yep.
Even though you don't know what is next, and just being there and showing up. And if there's one thing that building this plant has taught me, it's that. I mean, I'm overwhelmed daily with things that I absolutely don't know what to do. And
well, my hat's off to you. You're a bigger man than I am, but I appreciate what you're trying to accomplish by getting this going, because as a rancher, I can raise all the cows in the world, but if I can't put them on the plate of my neighbor, and of a family wherever they may be that needs it at an affordable price, we can't. The whole function of life, you're living, you're breathing, you're eating, shelter.
Yep.
Eating's pretty basic.
Yeah, you bet.
And we need to eat good, healthy, the best we can have. And that's why it's symbolic, but you basically need to do the family farm for as many families as you can.
Right. Yep.
And so,
yeah, it's interesting that, Saturday, I guess it was just yesterday, being gone 67 weeks down building the plant, I watched for opportunities to get things done back here at the ranch. And I, of course, texted you early yesterday morning and said, hey, if there's any way you could come and look at my boiler, we've been a year trying to get you out here, but if there's any way you could come look at my boiler, I could be your apprentice, and, we could get this handled. And it just made me laugh when you texted back and said, well, I just got done milking. I've got to head to the farmer's market and we're out of hay. I've got to go get hay tonight when I get back. And I thought, wow, this is it's the life that so many of us ranchers live. I mean, we're burning the candle at three ends, and we look at it and go, well, there's, we've only put 16 hours in. Is there any way we can just carve 2 more hours out to get the rest of it done? And day before I was talking to Whit Hill, and he just strikes me as the same kind of a situation, and yet we choose into that lifestyle. And it's interesting to me that there's 1.5% of us in this country that are feeding the other 98.5.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
my hat's off to you and all the other guys like you that'll just continue to do it.
Well, I was at the conference this week. I went around the clock for a couple of days so I could be able to leave, not find the farm in tatters when I got back. But Joe Salatin is the first opportunity I've had to meet him, sit down with him, listen to him talk, had dinner with him. And he's the one that put me on, kind of woke me up. Now, obviously, our dad's a brother, so we were raised the same way. There was always a cow there. There was always a compost pile. My dad would send us out in the 52 Ford pickup, and all us boys would drive down Main Street in Salt Lake where all the maple trees were. And with the tarp, and we'd rake people's lawns, put it in the tarp, dump it in the back of the 52 Ford, and tromp it down, and then keep doing it. People come running out saying, "Are you at the city? Why are you raking our leaves? I mean, thank you. Here's some money." And we're like, "Well, Dad wants 18 inches of leaves over the entire garden, and he wants it spaded 2 spades deep next spring." So that's my introduction to what Joel Salatin kind of put to work for all of us. We need healthy food raised in a sustainable way. We don't need factory farms. We don't need Uncle Sam to regulate us to death. We need to be able to take care of our families, and we need America to flourish. America's health, America's morals, America's families, whatever that may be to anybody. We need that. And we need to lead out and quit waiting for the other guy to do it. But thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, I got put on the spot a month ago or so at Cattleman's when everybody's listening to the guy that's up there telling all these old ranchers and farmers what to do, and he's an analyst. And right at the time, my wife's sitting next to me, and he says, "I sure wouldn't want to be investing in the slaughterhouse right now." She looks at me along with all the other 200 eyes looking at me, and
I can imagine.
You know what?
Didn't slow you down,
It didn't slow me down. And not only that, like, if it wasn't about something bigger than just that, I mean, beef is just beef. To me, what we become through our experiences is way more important than what we buy with money.
We have to be careful, because when your big brother says, "You can't do that," subconsciously he's really saying, "I dare you to show me you can." Yeah. So we know you're going to make it happen. Really looking forward to your grand opening. I'm probably supposed to be at a farmer's market in Salt Lake that day, so I might end up missing it.
Life's about choices, I guess, huh?
But I don't know. I might just have to miss that one market, because what you're doing is really going to help the state. It's really going to help the ranchers. We've been raising cattle. I raise sheep. I raise hogs. I do chickens. But regulations keep us from really doing what we need to do when we need to do it.
Yeah.
And this Utah beef producers that you're putting together is going to facilitate a lot of us that have really had trouble, particularly since COVID, when it kind of woke everybody up to, hey, there's 4 big companies that are controlling the beef market, and one of them goes out of commission. The whole food supply chain is disrupted. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we all have our place, and I think that those companies, why they have their place. But I'll tell you, I don't think that the rancher has had here in the West, and certainly not in Utah, they haven't had the choices that we'll have once the plant's up and running. We'll be able to do the capacity that, I mean, I think guys like you, I've watched you. I've been that guy chasing all over trying to get a kill spot.
Idaho, running to Idaho for slaughter, running to Arizona for slaughter.
Yeah.
Almost ended up going to Colorado, averted that, but still.
So to be able to solve that right here local, I mean, I've already not even opened yet and turned around thousands of cattle that don't have to leave the state anymore, that don't have to go 500 miles to get dead.
Not only that, but it's jobs that stay here.
Yeah.
It's industry that stays here. It's, they are going to build houses for the people that are working in your plant in Richfield. But you know what? I hope we use our influence a little bit and get them to build where we can't grow crops. That's my
good point.
That's my soapbox issue.
Yeah.
Quit destroying Utah. Quit destroying farming infrastructure. Where there's water, where there's ditches, where there's pipes, where there's flat ground.
Yep.
Don't put a subdivision on it. Don't put a commercial building on it. Put it up. Because I worked in the construction industry my whole life. I've supported my farm working construction and service work.
Sure.
Put it on ground that cannot be tilled or that cannot be cropland. Put it on the infertile soil. Plan your communities. That's what I wish, you know.
Yeah, that's a hard balance, I think. What's happened across America is right now 14,000 ranches and farms go extinct every single year.
Right.
And there's not the money in it, so the generations to come are selling the family farm instead of taking that up. Now, there's still some people that feel called to it, and they'll still do it. And there's a lot of people returning to the farm.
That's great. And that's the more that happens, that's why you and I pull back the other way. We're leaning back the other direction. Hey, we got to feed our families. We got to feed our state.
Yeah.
We got to feed our nation.
Yep.
I mean, one disruption in the supply chain from California, Florida, wherever it's coming from down south, we don't eat.
Sure.
So can we sustain ourselves if circumstances came about that forced us to not be able to move about across the nation? The truck supplies, the fuel, whatever it is. So by the grace of God, here we exist as a nation, as intact as we are, but we are dismantling the families and the principles that built the nation.
Well, that's a good point. And I think that another thing that I see across America is so many people are just the pride is going to cripple this nation. And I think the time
pride goes hand in hand with greed.
Yep, pride, greed, and it's like across America, we've taken God out of our schools. We've taken God out of so many things. And I can tell you that the only way that I'm being able to pull this off, this plant in Richfield, is because God has been there time after time after time, miracle after miracle. And it's interesting to me how so many miracles that I see happen for us at the plant have a first and a last name.
Yeah.
So interesting how God works through men and women of the flesh to pull off his miracles. And so I want to give credit to God on a bigger level than I've ever done. I've done a lot of different businesses in my life, but I mean, this certainly is big enough and bold enough to know that there's no way this is happening without him at the helm. So,
well, I think there's no way you won't be successful if that's the attitude you take, because that's what our country was founded on. Judeo-Christian principles, and in God we trust.
Yeah. Well, I think across America, the good guy is just silent, because that's what good people do. They don't raise a row and a ruckus and whatever. And the problem is, people that are unprincipled want you to believe that you're the minority. I'll tell you one thing that this has done for me with doing this plant. There are so many good people.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many good people, and the loudmouth left just wants you to believe you're the minority. Right. And I think it's time that people wake up and stand up for principle and be the one bold enough to say it, and say it in your school.
We need leadership.
Yeah.
I appreciate your leadership in this, because all of us ranchers have been talking and BSing about this problem. But when one guy finally gets off his rump and says, okay, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
You got support, but we all need to do it together. We need to work together. We need to support. Local support will strengthen support. I'm at the farmer's market every week, and summer, winter, and several times in the summer. And I had a guy call me up during COVID. Rough times, Everybody's worried if the world was going to go around another time. And he says, "Do you still sell meat? I got your business card right here. Do you still sell meat?" And I said, "Yeah." "Do you have any?" "Yeah." And he says, "Can I get some?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Good, because I went to Walmart." Or no, he says, "I went to Costco, and there was nothing on the shelves. There wasn't any meat. So I went to Walmart, and there was nothing on the shelves. So could I come over?" I said, "Yeah." "It's still the same price it was last time you come by my booth and didn't buy any. So if you want me to be here next time this happens, buy from me in the good times. Because rough times come, support your local guy." Yeah, it costs him a little more to produce a grass-fed, grass-finished local beef than it produces somebody down in Chile, South America, wherever it's coming from, that you can buy it.
Well, yeah, they won't find any pink slime in your meat.
No. No.
I mean, a great test. You go buy a pound of your ground beef, and you go buy a pound of ground beef in the store, cook it side by side, same stove, different pans, and you watch what is residue is left in the bottom of those pans when you get done.
Yep.
And I mean, wake up, America, because if you don't do it, guys like you are not going to be here.
Well, one of the best steaks I ever had is the one you cooked for Uncle Nephi's 60th birthday, and it was great. But if you're going to cook the grass-fed beef, learn how to cook it. Eat healthy, eat local, but you got to get back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
If somebody's cooking for you and you're going to drive through and grab it, it's not going to be the same as if you're buying it. If you're making the effort to make a connection with your rancher, your farmer, the guy that's getting up at 5 in the morning and going to bed after midnight, if he's lucky, before midnight.
Yep.
That's the guy that's going to put the honest in your food, because he's feeding you what he's eating.
Yeah.
So
good point. So I think that's the, and kind of in closing then, really to bring it full circle, what's going to make the difference is actually making a difference in our choices on how we shop. Like, choose different. Yeah. It's not as convenient to let yourself run out and think that you can just go right now to the supermarket and get it, but start choosing different. Yep. And we can make a difference. So thanks for all that you do.
Cheers.